Meanwhile, former Chief of Defense Staff General Lucky Irabor has alleged that some politicians are funding terrorism in Nigeria and that Christians are being targeted in certain parts of the country. Irabor spoke on live television, stating that while he was Chief of Defense Staff, some trials were initiated against individuals identified as financiers of terrorism, noting that several people are being called to question over their alleged involvement. He also stated that Christians are being targeted in the country, adding that there are many individuals who are being investigated for their roles in funding terrorist activities. Let's take a look.
But the reality is that our issues, or in terms of security challenges, are multifaceted, implying that just as you have terrorists who have an ideology, you equally have those who are bent on, targeting Christians, and there are also those who are, also targeting communities. That does not mean that some politicians, have not taken advantage of the insecurity, or if you like, the state of under governance, as it were, if I may use that coinage, to want to perhaps gain some form of leverage to score the point that there is poor governance. They could also instigate certain crises in one way or the other.
So, General, for the fact Christians are being targeted.
Of course, some Christians are being targeted.
For the fact politicians are funding terror in this country.
Some politicians. Yeah. If I wouldn't want to say.
So when I say politicians, that means that there are the politicians who are funding it.
Well, this is a significant revelation from a former Chief of Defense Staff. Although he did not name specific politicians or provide details about the ongoing investigations, the allegations that politicians are funding terrorism raises serious questions about the depth of the security crisis and whether it is purely a military problem or a political one with powerful interests benefiting from the chaos. Meanwhile, with the Chief of Defense Staff, saying that there's an ongoing investigation on the issue of, politicians funding or those that are funding terrorism in Nigeria. And also, on the other hand, Dachomo here has, raised that controversy again about the Muslim ticket in Nigeria.
Okay, these are very strict. Now, Irabor was Chief of Defense Staff.
Yes.
And here was he in a television interview saying that some politicians, some major figures terrorism. Well, it's not saying anything new. Mm-hmm. The Americans at the time, the State Department, in fact said, terrorism in Nigeria, banditry in Nigeria was being funded by certain notable figures. And I think they collaborated with the Nigerian government. I think it was also the United Arab Emirates at the time who named some Nigerians that they said were involved in terrorism financing within the spectrum of cooperation, international cooperation to fight this challenge. The Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit also at the time came forward and said they were trying some people, investigating some people. The question is, what happened with all those investigations? What happened with the persons who were being investigated? And then General Lucky Irabor, as CDS, being a Chief of Defense Staff, is a major position. He has access to a lot of information. What I would have expected would have been for the former Chief of Defense Staff to say, oh, these are some of the persons, or this was the point we reached, because Nigerians will know who are those persons. Everybody says they exist, but nobody has done anything to them. So this reign of impunity continues.
Now, General Irabor is one of the most respected, calm, and disciplined military chief of the last decade, and suddenly he's making this kind of statements. He has mentioned in this video that some political figures are involved in terrorism sponsorship. Now, this is not a rumor. This is not social media speculation. This is coming from a man who led Nigeria's war against Boko Haram, bandits, ISWAP, and insurgents for years in a recent interview, which was yesterday. Irabor boldly hinted that terrorism in Nigeria is not just a security issue. that it is a political business, and some individuals who hold or have held political power are directly benefiting from the chaos. In this instance, he didn't mention names, but we all know why. But the weight of that statement is heavier than a million accusations. This is coming from someone who sat inside the war room, someone who saw intelligence reports week in, week out, has access to information that ordinary Nigerians will never see. Someone who received daily classified briefs and monitors sponsors, logistics, and political protection. So when he says politicians are involved, it means the system knows. Irabor is not such a loud officer. He's not a dramatic person. He's not the type to throw accusation carelessly. His reputation when he was in the army was built on professionalism, discipline, loyalty, and calm analysis. And he's also someone that has refused to play politics. So for Irabor to break that silence, Nigeria must understand something deeper, that the military has known the sponsors of terrorism in Nigeria for long. They have their dossiers, but the political class has protected them. That's what this means. And this aligns with what many Nigerians have observed, that terrorists have moved freely across the state, and that bandits sometimes get mysterious supplies. How do they get those weapons? And arrested suspects often just disappear. How does that happen? Now, politicians negotiate with these killers openly. We've seen that in Zamfara and in Katsina states. And some states pay quiet ransom to get victims when kidnapped. And no big names has ever been jailed because of this insecurity in Nigeria. So Irabo's statement is not just a revelation, it is a confirmation of our suspicion over the years, because it raises the question that if the military knew the sponsors, why were they never arrested? Who is protecting them? Who blocked the files? This is why Irabo's comment is very dangerous to us as a nation. It points directly at the political architecture, not the soldiers. Irabo's revelation also exposes a very painful truth, that Nigeria is not suffering from lack of firepower. Nigeria is suffering from lack of political will. Now think about it. There are billions of naira that is being spent on weapons, yet bandits move freely in motorcycle convoys everywhere. Security agencies claim they know the locations of these bandits, but still can't touch them until orders from above approve it. This means that these gunmen are symptoms, the sponsors are the real disease. And what Irabor just did, intentionally or not, is shift the conversation away from blaming the military and towards the political class. Nigeria's politics is predictable. After Irabor's statement, three things will likely happen. Politicians will try to attack his reputation. They will claim that he is bitter, he's seeking relevance, or he's exaggerating. That is typical damage control. Some will even call for him to name names, knowing fully well that he cannot, because those files are classified, and naming names without institutional backing puts him at risk. So he may not be able to do that. Number three, the security debate will shift. For years, Nigerians have blamed Buhari, service chiefs, police IGs, national security advisors, military commanders. Irabor just pushed the spotlight to where it truly belongs, the political sponsors of violence. If President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is truly restructuring the military, then Irabor's revelation gives Nigerians the basis to ask tough questions, such as, will this administration expose political sponsors, or will it protect them? Will Tinubu confront the networks that even Buhari refused to touch? or will he avoid them to maintain political alliances for 2027? Because if politicians are sponsors and the sponsors remain untouched, then insecurity will continue no matter how much military hardware is purchased. General Irabor has thrown a stone into a quiet but very dark river. He has confirmed what many already believed, that the Nigeria's insecurity is not just a fight against terrorists, it is a fight against political interest. And until the sponsors are named, shamed, and prosecuted, Nigeria will keep bleeding. Thank you for listening. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video. See you next time.